Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I wanted to talk about a very important topic today, and it has to do with our brothers who embrace Islam in prison. Now, anybody who's familiar with U.S. culture and the society, and you'll know some of the biggest issues that the U.S. society has to deal with is drugs, poverty, and incarceration. Rap music in particular has made some of these problems known to everybody around the world. These issues are something that we all know about, so it begs the question, why haven't we been able to solve some of these problems? But regardless, whether it's the East Coast, the West Coast, down South, Midwest, particularly in the inner cities around the US, it's the same stories, the same things. There's poverty, there's drugs, there's crime, and incarceration. So many people, unfortunately, they find themselves in a situation where crime seems like an only option. The only people that seem to have any money where they live are drug dealers, for example, or criminals. They might come from broken homes. There's a long history behind why things are the way they are, and it's beyond just individuals making the wrong decision. It's a whole environmental, societal issue that needs to be dealt with. But anyways, many people eventually they end up going to prison. And when they go to prison, they finally have some time to sit, reflect, read, think, pray. And many brothers embrace Islam in prison. Some of the best brothers I've ever met in my life, they embrace Islam in prison. And after embracing Islam, Allah guided them to the truth, led them from darkness to the light, and they want to completely change their lives around. So by the time they get out of prison, brothers are on the deen. They want to pray, they want to earn a halal income. They've really changed their lives around. But of course, once somebody goes to prison, that's on their record. So now when they try to apply for a job, not only may they not be educated in terms of finishing high school or having a college degree, but now the record even says that they went to prison. So it can become extremely difficult, if not seemingly impossible, for some of these brothers to earn a halal income. Especially when they get out of prison and they go right back to where they were before, around the same people, around the same issues, the same problems. And just to share a specific story that I experienced, back when I had only been Muslim for a couple of months, me and a brother were walking through a neighborhood, and the brother I was with, he had on a thobe and a kufi, so it was obvious that we were Muslims. So while we were walking through this neighborhood, somebody ran out of their house and was like, "Salaam alaikum, brother, salaam alaikum," and he invited us into his house. And it turns out that this brother had just got out of prison, and he embraced Islam in prison, and he studied it. He was in prison for several years. And now he was back at home living with his mother, and she wasn't Muslim. He was the only Muslim in his family, probably the only Muslim in his neighborhood. But he saw us, two Muslims, walking through his neighborhood, so he ran out and he was excited, and he invited us inside, and we sat down, we exchanged contact information, and Allah bless him. It seemed like he really wanted to practice the deen. He really wanted to practice Islam. But this brother, he didn't have a job, he didn't have a car. So I told him, I was like, "Akhi, I'll pick you up for a Fajr. Inshallah, we'll pray Salatul Fajr together at the masjid." There was like a masjid 10 minutes away from his house. So that's what we used to do. I used to go pick him up in the morning, like 4:30 a.m. It would still be dark out, We'd go to the masjid, pray. And it just showed how sincere this brother was, like he was always awake, he was eager and happy to go to the masjid and pray Fajr. I mean, how many of us go to the masjid and pray Fajr? May Allah guide us. But anyway, so time went on, and of course we sort of got busy doing our own things. I actually lived about 20 minutes away from him, so he wasn't somebody that I could really see too often. And I was finishing up school and things of that nature. And I just remember this brother, he was trying so hard to find a job. Like, he really, really wanted to find a job. And I remember at the masjid by his house, I told him, I was like, the imam here, he drives a Lexus, Allah Mubarak. He ran his own, he had his own business basically. And I was like, he runs his own business, maybe he can, hire you. So he was like, "Yeah, Akhi, that sounds great." So we went to the masjid, and he saw the imam, and he was driving off, and he ran up to his car, and he was like, "Assalamu alaikum." He was like, I'm looking for a job. Please, if you could hire me, I'm good with my hands, I'm good with computers, I'll do whatever you need me to do. But I really need to find a job. And the imam, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. You know, he was driving away at the time, so he was just sort of like, okay, you know, I don't know, maybe said like, you know, get a resume or this or that or whatever. But anyways, he sort of just drove off, and that was that. And I would keep in touch with a brother from time to time, and he was just looking for, couldn't find a job. So, you know, next time I saw him, he had, you know, he started trimming his beard, shaving his beard, just trying to get hired, you know. Felt like, okay, maybe people aren't hiring me because I got a beard, this and that. And then before I know it, he started messaging me like, "Akhi, you know anybody that's trying to buy, you know, like laptops? I got access to some new laptops. We're selling them for cheap." Stuff, you know. So I mean, Allahu Alam what that was all about, but it seemed a little shady. But anyways, you know, time just kept passing, and brother never found a job, and eventually, I guess he just felt like he had to go back to doing the things that he used to do to make money, and he ended up going back to prison. So I remember he called me, and it seemed like I was like one of the only real Muslim friends that he had, because there were certain times where he needed things and he needed help, and you know, it seemed as if you know, he felt like I was the only person that he could call, and it was just very sad. You know, it was just a very sad situation. Anyways, eventually he got out of prison, and you know, I saw him again, and we'd meet up and we'd go to the masjid, we'd go to Juma, we do this and that, maybe go out to eat. But it just seemed like this brother, just the environment he was in, it just seemed like no matter what he tried, he just couldn't escape some of the haram that was around him. You know, I would lose contact with him from time to time, and at this point I haven't been in contact with him for maybe a couple of years now. But I remember the last time I saw him, as always, you know, he always seemed very happy to see me, very appreciative, because I could tell he wanted to be around Muslims, you know, religious Muslims. But for some reason, it just didn't seem to work out for him. Now, I don't want to sit here and act like, you know, the brother has no personal responsibility for his actions or anything like that, but it's obvious that your environment affects you, and that as a Muslim community, when we see certain issues that we can potentially help solve, it's important that we do so. But anyways, I just remember the last time I saw him, I could tell the brother was struggling, man. I could tell he was involved in stuff that he didn't want to be involved in, and it was just like he was stuck. He was just caught in between two worlds, you know, his deen that he wanted to practice, but the environment that he was in and his situation, it just seemed like, I don't know, maybe he just felt hopeless, you know, and he just would try to justify the things he was doing because maybe he just didn't know any way to escape this stuff. But I just remember the last time I saw him, I remember he told me he loved me, you know what I mean, when we were saying salams to each other. And it wasn't like, that's not something brothers usually do, you know. But it just seemed like, it was almost like a cry for help, it sounded like, you know. The brother was just like, just saying salams. Like, I was just leaving, I was like, you know, salam alaikum akhi. He was just like, I love you, brother, you know, alaikum salam. SubhanAllah. And I haven't seen that brother since, you know. I don't know. It's not such a rare case. A lot of brothers, they embrace Islam in prison, they get out, they want to change their lives around, but it's like a cycle, you know. Now they're in the system. Now they might not have any real education regarding a halal trade. All they know is the haram. And now they got a record. People don't want to hire them. And they end up just, you know, out of desperation, frustration, whatever it is, many times brothers go back to the haram. So, I don't know, I guess I just wanted to bring attention to this issue because it's a major issue. This is not an isolated incident. This sort of thing happens all the time. And this is also why it's very important for Muslims to also run their own businesses. Because there are a couple brothers I know, they run their own business. They hire Muslims who come out of prison. And they give them an opportunity. And they give them a place where they can earn halal money, they can pray, they can be around other Muslims. This is very important. You know, our deen isn't just being imams, and it's also important that Muslims, they provide jobs. And it's important that we support other Muslims when they do start businesses. Anyways, may Allah make it easy for us, may Allah guide us. Jazakumullahu khairan for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.